Ancient Egyptian queens are well known for their beauty and elegance. They were considered to be the most beautiful women in the world, and because of this, they attracted the attention of many men who wanted to be with them at any cost. Welcome to my channel, and today let's find out about the most beautiful Egyptian queen, Queen Nefertiti. Her bust is one of the most enigmatic artifacts from ancient Egypt. The head and shoulders of the sculpture are made of limestone and granite. It was discovered in 1912 during an excavation campaign led by German Egyptologist Ludwig Borchardt at the Middle Egyptian site of Tel El Marna, which was the ancient city of Akhmim. This sculpture was carved around 334 BC, making it one of the finest examples of ancient Egyptian art. When looking at the bust, it seems that the queen is looking down with a slight smile. There is also something else that catches our attention, and that is the way she wears her iconic blue headdress. This particular type of headdress is called a Nemes headdress. It was worn by both male and female members of the royal family, but it was mostly associated with the pharaohs. The wide vertical stripes of the headdress were meant to symbolize the sky, while the cobra on top represented the goddess Uraeus. The cobras were also meant to protect the wearer from evil spirits or bad magic. Also, the tall crown-like structure on top of the headdress was called a capreche. It was made of braided linen and had a stiff cardboard structure underneath. The capreche was used to hold the royal beard in place, which was a symbol of male fertility and virility. Women were not allowed to wear beards, so the capreche was only worn by male members of the royal family. However, since the statue of the bust does not have a beard, this means that the headdress is more likely to be a Nemes headdress rather than a capreche. The origin of the name Nefertiti is unknown, but it probably means a beautiful woman has come. Some scholars believe that the name may have been inspired by a previous queen named Nefertari, who lived in the 6th dynasty during the Old Kingdom period. However, there is no direct evidence to support this theory, and it remains unclear whether or not Nefertari was actually a queen or just a member of the royal court. Nefertiti was born in 1370 BC and was the daughter of the pharaoh's father Ai, who was also her grandfather. When she was born, her original name was probably Meritaten, meaning beloved daughter. But when she married the future Pharaoh Akhenaten, she changed her name to Nefertiti. She and Akhenaten had 6 daughters together. Their names began with the prefix Meritaten, meaning beloved, and each name ended with Aten, referring to the sun god Aten. The names of their daughters were Meritaten, Makitaten, Tehuti, Nefertiti, Muti, and Seteti. Even though Nefertiti bore only one son who survived infancy, it was widely believed that she had a major influence on her husband and his policies, such as moving the empire's capital and changing its religion. Akhenaten came into power after his father, Pharaoh Amenhotep III, died in 1353 BC. He ruled over Egypt for 12 years until his death in 1336 BC. According to some sources, Nefertiti may have played a part in her father's decision to choose Akhenaten as his heir instead of his older brother. However, this is pure speculation, and there is no hard evidence to back up this claim. During their reign, Akhenaten and Nefertiti moved their capital from Thebes to Amarna. In addition to being the pharaoh's wife, Queen Nefertiti held the title Hereditary Princess, which means that she was also the ruler of Egypt in her own right. She shared the throne with her husband, and they jointly built temples and received foreign dignitaries. Nefertiti was depicted wearing a long dress with a high collar that reached her chin. The dress had 2 shoulder straps that crossed in the middle of her back and were fastened with a brooch. The dress was gathered at the waist with a thick belt and fell in loose folds to the floor. These types of dresses were typically made of linen and were often decorated with intricate patterns and designs, such as lotus flowers or geometric shapes. The fabric was usually light and airy to keep cool in the hot Egyptian climate. In some statues and reliefs, Nefertiti was also shown wearing a translucent flowing robe over her long dress. The robe was usually made of fine linen or cotton and was gathered at the waist with a thin belt. This type of outfit was often worn by Egyptian queens and princesses during religious ceremonies or when they were receiving guests. Aside from her traditional Egyptian clothing, Nefertiti was also shown wearing jewelry made of gold, silver, lapis lazuli, carnelian, and turquoise. She would wear these materials as a necklace, bracelets, earrings, rings, and anklets. The jewelry was not only meant to be decorative, but also served a religious purpose. Many of the materials used in the jewelry had special meanings in Egyptian culture. For example, lapis lazuli was associated with the sky and the underworld, while carnelian was thought to protect the wearer from evil spirits. One of the most iconic pieces of jewelry that Nefertiti wore was a blue crown made of gold and precious stones. The crown was decorated with 2 tall feathers on top, which symbolized her connection to the gods. It was also a symbol of her status as the pharaoh's wife and queen of Egypt. Another interesting aspect of Nefertiti's appearance was her hairstyle. She was often shown with a tall, elaborate hairstyle that included a wig made of human hair or plant fibers. The wig was often decorated with flowers, feathers, or precious stones. This type of hairstyle was typical of Egyptian queens and was meant to emphasize their beauty and status. However, we should note that all of these depictions of Nefertiti in statues and reliefs were created during Akhenaten's reign or shortly after his death. After Tutankhamun took the throne, the titles and images of Nefertiti were removed from the temples and tombs that she and Akhenaten had built. This could indicate that her image was deliberately erased from public view after she lost favor in the royal court. After Akhenaten's death, little is known about what happened to Nefertiti. One popular theory suggests that she outlived her husband and acted as regent during the reign of Smenkhare, who may have been their son. However, this theory is not widely accepted among historians, and there is no solid evidence to support it. Another theory proposes that Nefertiti abandoned Akhenaten when he moved the empire's capital and changed its religion. If this is true, then she may have returned to Thebes and lived out the rest of her days there. There is also a popular myth that Nefertiti was an African queen who enslaved the Egyptians. However, this myth has been debunked by historians and Egyptologists who point out that there is no evidence to support it. In fact, the bust of Nefertiti shows that she had European features such as a tall nose, which is typical of people from the Levant region. We must also take into account that even though Nefertiti was a powerful and influential queen, she was still a woman living in a patriarchal society. As such, she would not have been able to do anything without the permission of her father or husband. Nefertiti's legacy has endured for centuries, and she remains one of the most iconic and enigmatic figures from ancient Egypt. Her bust is now housed in Berlin and is considered to be one of the greatest treasures of world history. It has been exhibited at the Neues Museum since 1913 and has never left Germany. Unfortunately, the circumstances surrounding her disappearance are still unknown, and there is much debate regarding her fate. Some historians believe that she was executed by Tutankhamun after he took the throne, while others believe that she simply faded into obscurity and died in obscurity. If you like this video, please leave us a comment and don't forget to subscribe for more videos about ancient Egypt. Thank you for watching.